I saw this post on Reddit talking about the lore of this game, and it got me thinking, why are we fighting the squares and triangles? Why do they hate us? What are we doing, and what are we fighting for? So I clicked on the post and I went down the rabbit hole. But that's when I ran into Let Rabbits Wear Specs, and with just two simple words, my life changed forever. Angular dominance. It made so much sense, and once I'd opened my eyes to the truth, I couldn't go back. No matter what skins we try and use to blend in, they'll always see us as the six angle having hexagons we are. And because of that,
we're going to build a wall. It's going to be built. It's not even, believe it or not, it's not even a difficult thing to do.
wow, now I'm impressed because a majority of y'all hit the nail right on the head, because today we're going to be talking about the wall. The wall is going to be the final workshop upgrade in the defense tree. It's going to block enemies from reaching our tower, but once it's destroyed, it's going to take a little bit of time before it's rebuilt. Getting the wall is going to set us back about 500 million coins, and with this we're going to get two workshop upgrades. One's going to be wall health, and one's going to be wall rebuild. Base stats for the wall are going to be 20% of your tower's health and a cooldown of 1,200 seconds or 20 minutes. In the workshop, wall health is going to have 1,800 levels, and each level is going to increase the wall's health by 0.1%. This adds up to a total of 180% of your tower's health, or 200% of our tower's health when combined with the base 20%. Now, wall rebuild only has 300 levels, and for each level the cooldown is going to be reduced by 2 seconds. This is going to leave us with a cooldown of 600 seconds or 10 minutes. Now that we got that out of the way, we can move on to some of the big boy upgrades. And here's where I'm going to have to give you a disclaimer. In order to get the wall into a usable state, we're going to need a significant amount of lab research and coins. So stick with me and I'm going to tell you the best time to build the wall. First up in the lab is going to be health. We're going to be able to increase the wall's health by an additional 200%. This is going to be over the course of 100 upgrades, which will add 2% wall health per upgrade. Adding both the workshop and lab upgrades together, this is going to bring us to a total of 300% wall health, or in other words, 300% of our tower's health. Next up is going to be wall rebuild. This has 20 levels and reduces the cooldown by 10 seconds for each level. In total, we can reduce the cooldown by 200 seconds or 3 minutes 20 seconds. Combined with the workshop, you can bring the wall's cooldown all the way down to 280 seconds or 3-minute cooldown. Third, we have wall regen. This is based off your tower's health regeneration and is needed for wall fortification, but we'll get into that later. With 30 levels at 10% each, you're going to be able to increase the regeneration of your wall by a whopping 300% of your tower's regeneration. Fourth up is going to be wall thorns. This upgrade allows your wall to deal a percentage of your tower's thorn damage to enemies. It might be boring, but this is a must-have upgrade for the wall itself and for builds like Orb Devo. Wall Thorns is going to have 20 levels and increases at intervals of 1%, maxing out at a total of 20%. And remember, your tower's thorns deal a percentage of enemy HP back onto the enemies. Fifth up is going to be wall invincibility. This upgrade will cause your tower to become invincible for up to 10 seconds after being rebuilt. This is one of the weaker upgrades for the wall, but it still can be useful. Lastly, we have wall fortification. This upgrade is goated. Fortification allows your wall regeneration to heal beyond its max health. The best way to think of this is by pretending that fortification is a shield for your wall with a built-in wormhole redirector. This has 60 levels and increases by 20% per level, capping out at a massive 1,200% of your wall's health. And remember, wall health can be increased by up to 300% through the workshop and lab. So maxing out wall health and wall fortification in the lab is going to end us up with a massive 3,600% of our tower's health. If you guys are enjoying this guide, do me a favor and hit that like button, let me know down in the comments below, and make sure to hit that big red subscribe button. It's time I talk about something that I've neglected on this channel. This isn't a place that new wall users will find themselves, because you'll have to spend 50 trillion, yes, trillion with a T, on defense enhancements before you can even think about upgrading the wall. There are 300 levels giving a 0.1% multiplier to wall health for a total of a 4 times bonus. Real quick, let's revisit our wall fortification. If we add in our workshop enhancements to our wall, we can go from 3,600% to a 14,400% of our tower's health. Good luck maxing enhancements out, because level 1 is going to cost 5 billion, 30 levels is going to cost 1.95 trillion, 70 levels is going to cost 1.71 Q, and that's a little case Q because 160 levels is going to cost 1.1 big Q, and level 300 will cost a total 1.03s. It's time to talk about costs, and with costs, there's going to be a second disclaimer. Knowing when to get the wall can be very confusing, so I'm going to do my best to help you figure out the best roadmap for unlocking the wall. First, I need to give a big shout out to version 25 of the game, because after this update, players are allowed to start researching the wall even after they respec it. If you have at least one level in-lab researches, you'll be able to research them even if you don't have the wall. Before this change, this was a big barrier that kept players like myself from beginning our wall research earlier in our tower journeys. Now, I might get some hate for this, but I've got a bit of a controversial plan. Originally, players needed to be making around 200 to 500 billion coins a day just to fund their wall research. But for a limited time, if you buy the lab, I'll get you started with only 20 billion a day.
Within the next 20 minutes, because we can't do this all day, we'll give you a second set absolutely free.
This plan of mine is going to have 3 different phases. In each phase, we're going to buy the wall, begin the researches we need, and then respec. If you're following this plan, the other items you should be researching should be fairly cheap upgrades like coins per kill or lap speed, because we're going to focus most of our coins into our wall. Now, why don't you want to keep the wall? Without wall thorns, enemies are going to stack up around your wall, capping the max spawns possible. This is going to hurt your economy and cause enemies to shotgun into your tower when the wall finally breaks. This might not matter in the early part of runs, but it can cost you hundreds of waves near the end. Starting our plan, we're going to be in phase 1. This will consist of researching wall health and wall rebuild. And to start, you're going to want to be bringing in about 20 billion coins a day. For wall health, it's going to start with a low research time of less than 6 hours and costing a billion coins. Additionally, the max level of wall health, level 50, takes 9.5 days and costs 48 billion coins. With that said, I want you to take this lab as far as you can. On the other hand, wall rebuild is going to start at about 14 hours and costing 1.6 billion coins. You should easily be able to get this around level 10 or 12, taking a little over 10 days and costing 9 billion coins for level 12. Wall rebuild isn't the most important upgrade in the world, and ramps up to almost 42 days and 26 billion for level 20. Because of that, I don't expect you to finish this research just yet. After you start the research on wall health and wall rebuild, go ahead and respec. Moving into phase 2, we're going to need roughly 80 to 100 billion coins a day. This will get us started on wall regen and wall thorns. At this time, we should still be working on wall health and hopefully have finished up or are near level 12 for wall rebuild. Wall regen starts with a research time slightly over 1 day and costing 30 billion coins. Our goal is going to be to get this around level 10, granting us 100% of our tower's regeneration on our wall. Level 10 is going to take us 13.5 days and cost 80 billion coins. We're not looking to max this out just yet, just because level 30 for wall regen takes 279.5 days, and the research will cost 217 billion coins. Additionally, wall thorns is going to take a bit over a day and cost 30 billion coins to get started. We're going to be shooting for level 10, and it's going to take 14.5 days and cost 107 billion coins. We're not looking to max this out either, because level 20 takes 263 days and costs 212 billion coins. Again, once you start the research, go ahead and respec again. Finally, we have phase 3, and for this phase, you want to be bringing home 300 billion coins or more a day. By this point, if you haven't finished researching the wall, I want you to keep going on that. Additionally, if you're okay with the research time, you can decide if you want to go past the benchmarks I gave for wall regen and thorns. Finally, we're going to have the opportunity to research wall invincibility and wall fortification. While both of these start off at 300 billion for the first upgrade, invincibility's first level is going to take about 3.5 days, and its max level, level 10, costs 783 billion and takes about 19 days. Fortification's first upgrade takes about 2 days, 8 hours, and level 60, its max level, takes roughly 57.5 days and costs a massive 10.5 trillion coins. Yes, again, that's trillion with a T. Now, you might not think that you can research both these labs with only 300 billion a day, and to that I would say, yeah, you're right. Good thing for us, we don't need to upgrade both of these. For the time being, we're going to completely ignore wall invincibility and focus on fortification. A good benchmark for fortification is whatever level you can afford. Fortification is one of the strongest upgrades, and I encourage you to take it as far as possible. Keep in mind, if you're still working on any upgrades from phase 2, you might need to save up for each fortification upgrade, but that's okay. And remember, once you reach phase 3, there's no reason to respec. Your wall's not going to be stronger than your tower just yet, but once fortifications reaching around level 3 to 5, it should start to overcome your tower. To give a quick recap on lab researches, just so it's very clear on what's important, wall health, wall regen, and wall fortification are all amazing upgrades. Wall health should be set on an auto research, and you really shouldn't take it off until it hits max level. For wall regen, at a bare minimum, you want to get this to level 10 or 100% regen. This is really going to help your wall stay up as more and more enemies stack up. Anything past level 10 is going to be a bonus, and it's just going to help you get further and further into your runs. I would also recommend on taking this one as far as you can. Wall fortification acts just like max recovery. It's going to increase that shield on your wall, and it's a great upgrade to have. Wall rebuild and wall invincibility aren't that important, and these can really wait until you have a little bit more time. For wall thorns, level 10 is a good base minimum to have it at. Anything after 10 is definitely going to be a bonus, but being at just 10% isn't going to hurt you. Again, this plan is for players who want to get started on researching the wall as soon as possible, so when they finally unlock and keep the wall, it's as strong as possible. If this isn't as important to you, that's okay. Just go ahead and wait until you're making at least 500 billion coins a day, and then you'll be able to throw on the more important wall researches into the lab. Now that we have the wall, we might want to rethink the modules we're using so that we have the best unique effects. For our cannons, we're going to be looking at death penalty as our top pick. This has a chance to mark enemies for death by essentially reducing their health to 1. This will reduce the number of enemies stacking on your wall, therefore helping you take less damage. For our armor modules, we all know Wormhole Redirector is an amazing module in the early game, but once we upgrade our wall to where it's tougher than our tower and it's active for 99% of the run, Wormhole Redirector kind of loses its usefulness. Because of that, we have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what to use next. So, we're left with Anti-Cube Portal, Negative Mass Projector, and Space Displacer. Space Displacer's ability to spawn new inner landmines is cool, but it's not what's going to be helping us the most at this point. Anti-Cube Portal, on the other hand, will likely be our best bet. It increases the damage enemies take for 7 seconds after being hit by Shockwave. With 10% wall thorns and a 10 times damage multiplier, for the next 7 seconds, your wall thorns will be doing damage equivalent to your thorns. Now, if you're running Orb Devo and this increase in damage is eliminating too many tanks, I want you to try Negative Mass Projector for the damage and speed debuff it applies to enemies. For our generators, you shouldn't need to change too much. Singularity Harness is great for increasing your bot's ranges, especially for Golden Bot. I use this module and I think it's the best if you have your Golden Bot sync with Golden Tower and Black Hole's activation. On the other hand, Galaxy Compressor is going to reduce your ultimate weapon cooldowns by a few seconds whenever you collect a recovery package. If you don't have Golden Bot synced, this is a great module, allowing your Golden Tower and Black Hole activation to go off more often. Then we have the Black Sheep of generators. Pulsar Harvester is going to set enemies' stats back to level 1. This is one of the weaker modules and should only be used if you literally don't have any other. Finally, Black Hole Digester is going to increase your coins per kill percent whenever you get a free upgrade. This resets after each wave, but it's a great module. Even if your workshop's maxed out in game, the game will still calculate if you would be getting free upgrades and give you the bonus accordingly. Just remember not to have this equipped if you're using Orb Devo. Finally, we have our cores. OM Chip is going to cause your spotlight to focus in on bosses. This is cool, but it's not going to help out our wall too much. Harmony Conductor is another favorite of mine. If enemies are poisoned, they have a chance to miss their attacks, causing them to do less damage overall. Dimensional Core gives Chain Lightning a 60% chance to hit the first enemy, and while it doesn't help the wall too much, I want to give a shout out to all the Chain Lightning fans out there because y'all seem so hardcore about Chain Lightning, and it makes me just a little bit jealous I don't have it. Finally, we have Multiverse Nexus, which is going to sync your Golden Tower, Black Hole, and Deathwave at an average of their cooldowns plus or minus a few seconds. Now that we've covered all the module unique effects, let's talk about some sub-module effects you're going to want. For this, we're only going to be talking about defense module effects. In no particular order, we have health regen up first. This is a great option because wall regen is based on a percentage of our tower's regeneration. So boosting our regen boosts our wall regen as well. Third is going to be thorn damage. Next up is going to be defense percent, as this is a solid effect and you can never go wrong taking it. Third is going to be thorn damage. This is going to cause your wall to take one less activation to eliminate enemies. For example, with wall thorns at 20%, that takes 6 activations from max thorn of 99%, but only 5 activations of 101% thorns. Fourth is going to be shockwave frequency. By taking this and reducing the cool wave of shockdown, we're going to be pushing enemies back more often and resetting their stacking attack sooner. Fifth up is wall health. This simply increases the wall health by a set percent. And finally, we have wall rebuild. This is going to reduce the time needed to rebuild the wall. Ranking these from worst to best, in last place we're going to have wall rebuild as the worst. Then we have shockwave, thorn damage, health regeneration, defense percent, and finally the best, wall health. When it comes to perks, it's really easy to know which ones to avoid, but there is one perk that we're going to want to make sure we get. Perks that we're going to want to avoid are ones that are going to increase enemy damage or reduce our health regeneration. So some trade-off perks we're going to want to avoid is this one that reduces our tower regeneration, and these two that are going to increase enemy damage. The one that we want to really make sure that we get is going to be this one that's going to increase our max regeneration by 8.8 times. This is because as we get more fortification, if our max tower health goes down, it's not going to matter too much. But in the lab, since we can get our tower regeneration past 100%, and that's based on our tower's regeneration, it's going to be really beneficial if we increase our tower's regeneration by another 8 times. If you guys found this guide helpful in understanding the tower, please hit that like button down below, and feel free to ask any questions in the comments. And as always, remember, if you enjoyed this video, to subscribe for more content just like this.